what I took was you can know the truth about abortion. And this is particularly important, I think, in our culture today because there are so many people who say you can't know the truth about anything. But of course, as Christians, we know that we can know the truth. And also, more than that, truth has a name. His name is Jesus. So, abortion being one of the most emotional topics of our time. We just had an election, and one political party definitely said this is a referendum on abortion rights. And that was true in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, I wish that more states had voted Christian values on that, but they didn't. And in part, I think it's because people don't know the truth about what it is. So the point that I'm making is abortion is a moral issue. It's fundamentally about what classes of people we can legally kill and which ones we cannot. And we can know the truth by answering just 4 questions. What is moral reasoning? What are the unborn? What is abortion? And what makes humans valuable? So, moral reasoning, just to say very quickly, it's knowing right from wrong. How do we determine that? There is a principle called moral realism, which all of us would fall under. We know what right from wrong is because God tells us so. But for everybody else, they may not have that same basis or foundation, and so it can be more difficult for somebody else to say, well, I know this for a fact to be right. I know this for a fact to be wrong, beyond I feel like this, or we just agreed societally that this is right or this is wrong. Postmodernism is obviously deeply entrenched in our society today, and that's where most people that you're going to interact with at the street level who say, I don't know the difference between right or wrong, or it's only what I have to say that it is, that's where they're getting their basis or their foundation for that. But even if people are moral relativists, we still agree that morality can be known and determined, even if it's just, well, we're working it out between ourselves. So on that, we can move on to what are the unborn? The science of embryology provides a number of facts about the developing human, something that I think Ron is going to talk more about when he gets up here. So you're not going to get gypped from your normal lesson today, don't worry. Is that even in the Roe v. Wade case many decades ago, the Supreme Court did say that we will need to revisit the topic of abortion when we have more of an understanding of embryology. The science was not as developed as it is now. But it is at a place now that we know a whole lot about what the unborn are and the various stages of development. Being that most of us are parents, surely we're a little familiar about embryology and the developing human, but the most textbooks will put it to you something like this. Human development begins at fertilization, that is, when a sperm fuses with an egg to form a single cell, and this becomes now a highly specialized totipotent cell, which means totipotent, it's like an all-powerful cell. It can give rise, it creates every other type of cell following for that organism. And it marks the beginning of each of us as a unique individual. So this is pretty simple and straightforward, right? This is when life begins. It's the overwhelming consensus of the scientific and medical community. And if you want to relate this back to the abortion debate, you are the same person now that you were then. Just like 50 years from now, you'll be the same person at that point as you are right now. The fact that you're a human being doesn't change at any point in time throughout your development. You're just in a different phase of life. So, the basic premise of the pro-life position is that from the very beginning, you were a living and whole human being, and you didn't differ in kind from the type of human being you are now. So it's important, though, for us to say, what does distinct mean? What does living mean? Why is it important that we say that you were, in fact, you were a human and you were complete? were distinct in that the zygote that you were was different from both of your parents. Both the sperm and the egg gave up their parts to make one new thing, and that new thing is you. You are living, right? The zygote shows that you're alive. Blastocysts and zygotes, they show that they're alive from a variety of functions, but mostly you can tell that they're alive because they grow. Dead things do not grow. You were human, right? You had human parents. Human parents make human babies. And your DNA structure showed that you were human. You were nothing else, no other kind of thing. And you were complete. Even though a zygote, a blastocyst, an embryo, a fetus is not a mature human being, you were still completely human, or you were still a complete human organism, and you were at the right phase of life for that level of development. So, all that said, life begins at conception, and that is the scientific reality. Mary sent me a really nice article when we were about 15 weeks pregnant with this time, and it's called 15 Facts of 15 Weeks. It's at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, but it had some really nice facts about different things that the 15-week-old developing baby can do already in the womb. And there was a lot of stuff that even I didn't know in there, having already had a baby, but it was very incredible. So, what is abortion? It's fundamentally important to distinguish what abortion is, like what the procedure itself is, because I think that a lot of people, women especially, have really bought into, well, I guess men and women have bought into, it's just a magical way to stop being pregnant. It's not what it is, or the process to stop that pregnancy is not really what it is. So at a very clinical level, abortion is a procedure that terminates a pregnancy. And the most common methods are chemical and surgical. Chemical, obviously, much more common now. Or sometimes chemical abortions are called medication abortions. That's where you take the 2 pills. But the purpose of the abortion is to kill the fetus and expel the fetal material from the woman's body. So you can't get around the fact that abortion is necessarily killing a fetus, regardless of what you want to claim that the fetus is. And there are a lot of things that you'll hear people say, well, it's not this, it's not that, but as we've already established, it is in fact human and it is alive. You're never going to be able to say something that was once alive is now dead is not the case when it comes to what abortion is. The pro-life position can be basically summarized as a nice little syllogism, so you can keep this in mind if you ever have to have this topic or after this debate out in real life. We make the following claims, right? So, it is wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being. It's important for us to say intentionally kill an innocent human being, right? So you don't get sidetracked on other kinds of topics, but the point is intentionally kill an innocent human being. Abortion intentionally kills an innocent human being. Therefore, abortion is wrong. Very, very simple. And which is great because it's easy to remember. I don't have a brain these days, so.
You got 2 brains.
Right, 2 brains and never been dumber. So the first statement that we made, it's wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being. That's an objective moral claim. I'm saying that irrespective of who I am, where I am, what time or place that I'm in, it's wrong to intentionally kill an innocent human being. And it's not my preference. There are a lot of people that will tell you, like, well, you don't like an abortion, just don't have one. It's not a preference. I'm saying that this is true no matter what kind of person I am. If I'm a horrible person, if I'm a great person, it's true no matter what. The second statement is about defining what abortion is. And from the moment of conception, that new being is a member of the human species. So they necessarily fall into the category of innocent human being. And it's important to say innocent or define innocent because I'm saying that a baby is not capable of having done any harm to anyone. They're not capable of being culpable under the law for committing a crime. Therefore, they're innocent. So my final question is, what makes human beings valuable? Why are we valuable things? Of course, as Christians, we recognize that the reason that we have value is because we bear the image of God. And that's a really beautiful thing. And it's comforting, of course, for us to be able to rely on that and say, my Creator cares so much about me that He put Himself into me and made me the way that I am. But for people who are not Christians, though really the only way that you can objectively define why human beings have value is by rooting it in the kind of thing that we are. The nature of humanity is what makes us valuable. Just being human is what gives you your value. There's no meaningful difference in your human nature at the various stages of your development, and it's not an arbitrary thing to say, oh yes, for all of your life, for all of your development, from the very first moment of your existence to the very last, you were a human being, and that alone was enough to give you substantive value, such that we should care about preserving your life, taking care of you, and giving you love, of course, as Christians. Just because you are smaller, less mature, just because I'm smaller than everyone in this room, not in terms of width, but in terms of height, I'm not less valuable just because I'm shorter. But these differences that we observe between people, they don't provide meaningful value-changing differences in the kind of thing you are or the fact that you are a human being. And like your abilities and things, they don't determine what value you are because none of us share those things equally. And so we can't define our value based on our function, our capabilities, how much stuff we have, whatever. The only way that we can do it objectively is to say, you are valuable because of your human nature. There are a lot of people, a lot of pro-abortion people who will give you different arguments based on like, oh well, we can talk about personhood this or personhood that, but they all fail because they're arbitrary. There is no point in which the kind of thing you are changes, and so you never lose your value. So to sum up, we can know the truth about abortion, and it starts by asking ourselves, what is abortion? And who can we legally kill? What classes of people do we say are not important enough or they don't matter enough that their lives can be sacrificed for somebody else's? My answer is nobody. Nobody deserves to be treated that way, even people who have no voice. So thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all listening to me and helping me in my class.